I want to move on because we've got quite a bit to get through. I want to talk about the Federal Environment Minister, Murray Watt, who has slammed the Queensland government for what he calls an ideological obsession to renewable energy projects after it scrapped major wind farm projects. James, what's going on up in your home state there? Murray Watt says the government is listening to local opponents and ignoring local supporters. I just wonder if he's ever been up to the regions.
Well, I will give Murray Watt some credit. He is doing a better job in this portfolio than Tanya Plibersek, who had very little consultation with business groups and those who are going to be affected by changes. But do I think that he's going to take on board some of their suggestions? No, I don't. I think Labor's got an agenda that they're set on. But with that said, he's not going to get his way here in Queensland. Thankfully, we have a Premier and a change of government here in Queensland that is listening to those regional parts that are being impacted by these solar panels that are just taking up thousands of acres of prime agricultural land. And then on the other hand, we've got these wind turbines that are littering the mountaintops and the ranges here, some of the most pristine country. It's killing habitat, it's killing birds, it's certainly having its impact. I know the one just out the road here, their best practice called for, if you find a koala that you've accidentally knocked out of a tree, best practice is to club it to death, not take it to a carer. You know, this is what's happening with wind turbines. And so we finally have someone in this state, David Crisafulli, who is listening to locals, and I take my hat off to him for that. It's about time because Labor, we're just trying to push through these renewable projects, and the locals in regional parts just weren't being listened to. So, Murray Watt, I'm afraid you're not listening, and our state government here in Queensland finally is.
Well, I mean, I've got to say the Premier, David Crisafulli, he fired right back today saying that his government is taking a sensible middle path with coal, gas and small-scale pumped hydro to keep the lights on. Linda, is that a fair argument?
Look, I think the regional planning agreements that Murray Watt is putting forward as part of the EPBC environment reforms going to the Parliament soon are a really great way forward. I've, of course, long argued that regional planning powers, you know, that are in place for many councils and that really consider the place are a critical way forward for making the best planning decisions. But the truth is this. Renewable energy is the cheapest form of energy. I don't know if you know, James, but nobody's charging for the wind. It's an astonishing revelation in economics for one nation to hear, I know. But wind is free. There's a bit of infrastructure to back it up. And then, of course, you get people the most cost-effective energy solutions. You've got to find the right places for it. And again, this is why Murray Watt is doing that important community consultation to find areas that are go for these projects and areas that are no-go, because there's some other conservation or other requirements that are needed.
Bejewel,
planning is tricky, but this is a really great way forward to ensure...
They don't want it.
Well,
and the minister's
James,
not listening to them.
I've worked on a council and I know you know this too. You know, whenever you have a planning...
listened to.
I've had the privilege of representing councils all over this country and visiting them. Whenever you have a planning proposal, there's always somebody who shows up and says they don't like it. But overwhelmingly, planning applications all across the country go ahead, communities benefit, jobs are created, cheap and energy efficient projects are created. Well, that's not true, James. People want cheaper power prices and that's delivered through renewable energy. They want jobs and that's delivered through renewable energy.
That's the reality. They do actually really want cheaper energy.
And that's delivered through renewable energy. So renewable energy is the answer to better jobs, cheaper energy and great places in the regions for our communities to be benefiting from.
You've got
to find the right places.
Let me just say this,
James. But just opposing everything, you know, that's bad for the economy, it's bad for the environment, it's bad for
open to the idea.
Can I just say, you raise a good point, Linda. You see, because we do want cheaper power bills. I mean, that is what we have been asking for. The reality is that under Labor, they've gone up by almost $1,000. So I'm not sure how much longer Labor can keep up this facade of saying, oh, we're going to persist with these.
They would have gone up much more if we had nuclear power and Peter Dutton elected. And, you know, that's an evidence-based fact. They would have gone up hundreds of billions of dollars more under Peter Dutton.
We've got a service station down the road here that's actually determined it's cheaper to run a diesel generator than it is to pay for power out of the grid right now. Now, that's disgraceful because he's worked out by the time you get your fuel excise rebate back, because you can, if you run diesel generators or fuel generators for your home or any business, you can claim that excise back. And he's worked out it's actually cheaper with the solar panels on his roof and his diesel generator to actually power his business using that means. Now, what encouragement is that going to give to people?
Because the solar panels give him such cheap energy supply.
Well,
James.
I mean, when they work half the time, when they're working half the time, that's half the problem. Meanwhile, the land's being carved up in the regions. Farmers have absolutely had it up to their eyeballs. They're tearing their hair out because the land's being carved up. But look, you know what? We could keep debating this for a long time, but unfortunately, we've got to go. Linda Scott, James Ashby, good to see you both. Thanks so much for joining me on the show, as always.